All right, guys, so we're going to make the soap now. So I'm gonna just introduce and give a quick little background about what each ingredient is, what it does, etc. So basically we start off with our base. There is like about 3 different ways you can do soaps. It's all about what you personally prefer, what your preference is, the type of skin types you're targeting when making products. Of course, you want to keep in mind the people that you're making the products for. So me personally, when I started making soaps, I thought about sensitive skin people, because me personally, I'm a sensitive skin type of person. Everybody in my family most of the times have sensitive skin as well. So as you know, a boss babe, you have to test your products yourself. You won't know if the product is good, if it's trash, anything, until you try it out yourself. You're your hardest critic, pretty much. So I'm personally not going to put anything on my body that is not natural, that has harsh chemicals, just unnecessary stuff. You can easily get the job done with natural products, I feel like. So I use my bases. I have 2 different bases inside of here. I cut them up into cubes, as you can see with my soap knife. So what we're going to do is we're going to either do a double boiler, I haven't decided yet, or we're going to microwave it. If you do microwave your base, what I will say is, so that you don't basically defeat your base, is I would say microwave it for every 30 seconds. It is time consuming, I will say that, so don't think that it's just gonna be all melted within 30 seconds. It's a lot of soap in here, it's a lot of base. So what I will say is check it every 30 seconds just to make sure everything is, even. You don't want your soap to be all harsh and gluey. It's just not cute. So you want to make sure that you have all your stuff together. So I have 2 different bases in here. Just because I sell these soaps, this is literally my actual ingredients that I use for my business. So I'm not going to tell you exactly what kind of bases I have in here and where it is from, but what I will say is, when you are testing your products, make sure that when you're looking for a base, if you do decide to make the soap this way, I will say that you need to look for a vendor that has natural products. Like, you need to Google every type of ingredient inside of your ingredient. Like, I don't care if it's something as simple as baking soda. Obviously you would know what baking soda does because it's in your house for years, but you need to research it down to a T. You have to take pride in your work, and you have to make sure that whatever you're about to test on your body, you're okay with before you sell it to somebody else. That's just a quick tip. So we got base over here. My oils is already measured out pretty much, but I do have 4 different oils in here basically, and I'll also link below where I got these little cup thingies. So I have oatmeal. Here's the tea about the oatmeal. So when making natural products, you don't have to go crazy sometimes with certain ingredients. Like this oatmeal, I basically use whole oats and I put them in my blender and just mash them together, because you don't want to put whole oats inside of this soap, because when you're done washing, it's gonna clog up your tub. So I would recommend putting regular oats, like I'm talking about oats from Walmart. Like, you don't gotta go crazy. Put them in a blender and put them in there by itself completely. I wouldn't put any water, any type of ingredients, just the oats itself, and blend that puppy down to it's like this powder pretty much. This is our vanilla stabilizer. I'm trying to see it, maybe you can see it. That's measured as well. You want to use that vanilla stabilizer because it basically sometimes when you use soaps, certain bases or certain ingredients, especially oatmeal soap, it can basically turn brown. And not to say that you have bad products or you did something wrong per se, but sometimes you need that product just to kind of save the color and just give you a natural color that you want. It's not harmful to your skin. It doesn't, do anything awful. It's just basically a way to save the color, I would say, pretty much. But I did get into what it does exactly a little bit more at the beginning of the video. So if you do have any questions or concerns, I would just go back to the beginning of the video, because this is basically your tutorial. Like, who is telling you cannot rewind the video back? So I would say that you should just, look up any ingredient, anything that you want to put in here, anything that I discuss or talk about that you feel unsure about. I would definitely do research. And lastly, well, second to last, aside. So second to last thing that we're going to use as well that you're going to need is a mold. So my business, we love hearts. I don't know if you noticed yet, but we love hearts in my business. So I have a heart molds. I have two different ones, and we're gonna be using them up. You need molds. They're silicone. They're literally everything. They're easy to clean, easy to store, the best. And last, I would also say you're gonna mush up some more oatmeal just to use a little bit later, but we're gonna talk about why. You don't necessarily have to measure amount of oatmeal. It's all about what you, once you find your recipe, you're gonna know what you need and what you want to do. So you don't have to really kill yourself crazy over, you know, the measurements. Once you get everything in together, then it'll be in place, of course. So I'm gonna go melt the bases, and then we'll be right back just to mix everything together. All right, so we pretty much melted the base of everything. We melted the entire, whatchamacallit, bases, both bases in here. So now you see the creamy consistency of it. One of my bases that I put in here is goat milk. Goat milk is the goat, for real, for real. It's so amazing. It smells so good. It does so much great benefits to your skin. Definitely talked about that at the beginning of the video as well, so you guys already know the tea about that. So the first thing we're gonna add into our bases is our oils. So I'm just gonna pour the oils in first, and you gotta make sure you get all the good stuff, because oils is definitely not cheap. So we're gonna scoop all this out. Okay. And we're just gonna mix it. I will say what I do recommend is when you are making soap, I would recommend you can use a spatula, but it's just so much easier to use like maybe a big spoon or something, or a whisk. You can definitely use as well. So much easier, I feel like. So much easier. It just mixes quick. One thing about these soaps is that you have to kind of work a little fast, because these things will harden up on you. So I do recommend you moving at your own pace, of course, but once you get it down packed, then you need to, like, you know, be on go time. So now I'm gonna add the honey, and like I said, you don't have to go crazy. You could use your own personal preference type of honey. So I'm just adding the honey. I know it sounds crazy, I'm sorry. So I'm memorized by the squeezes, of course. Once you know, find your own rhythm, find your own recipe, stuff like that, you'll know what, you know, you want to add, you know how much, you know what you want things to look, smell, all of that. So have faith in yourself, of course. The next thing we're gonna add is our fragrance oil. Okay. That's another thing that's not cheap, so we definitely gotta add that. Make sure you get all the good stuff. So you're just gonna keep mixing it around. So the next thing we're gonna add is our vanilla color stabilizer. And like I said, this is pretty much just to stabilize the color. You want it to be a natural color with your oatmeal soap. You don't want it to be anything but natural. So you don't want it to turn brown, golden, none of that. You want it to be the natural state. So it basically just stabilizes that natural color in the soap at all time. That as well, you pretty much can find these measurements also. You can figure out your recipe, your formula by the measurements. Like if you find your vendor, for example, your vendor will give you some type of products, and inside the description it will basically tell you you can use a certain percentage. So what I will say, what I would highly recommend is you looking at that percentage and base your recipe off of that. So for example, there might be one ingredient that you can only use up until max 5%. So that determines pretty much what your recipe should be about. You shouldn't put no more than 5% in there. And sometimes I don't really like to go at the max, because sometimes they might drag it, or they might, you know, not give you the complete max, or it might be a little bit too much. So what I will say is I would like to, you should stay in the middle of everything. I would recommend just staying in the middle, of course. And while we were talking, I did add the oatmeal, the blended oatmeal inside of it. This is like amazing. When you actually wash with the soap, you can feel the exfoliation of the oatmeal soap with this. So it's definitely major key. Major key. Alright, so I will just stir it a little bit longer just to make sure everything is blended in nice, well. You know, you want to make sure everything is together. Alright, so I'm going to put this over to the side just a little bit. So I'm going to take my first molds. And remember I said that there's going to be oatmeal that you're going to have crushed over, left over. That's what we're going to use now. So at the bottom of my molds, I like to leave an exfoliation at the bottom of the bars, at the face of the bar, sorry, not at the bottom, at the face of the bar. So I just sprinkle a little oatmeal at the bottom of the mold. That will be the face of your bar. So you can do this. It's very gentle, so it won't irritate your skin or won't leave discomfort. It actually feels really nice. So I just sprinkle some at the bottom. And I do it for both molds. So now that we have one mold done, I'm just gonna pour some, just gonna pour the soap. And what I will recommend as well, when you're looking for a mold type, before buying it, I will look to see how much your bar will be, like what's the weight, how many ounces it will be outside, of course, of the mold. And I'm just pouring the rest in the other mold off camera. All right, so everything should be done. We are almost done. Almost done. Not quite though. Okay, so for the last thing that you're gonna need is you're gonna need a like a bottle, a spray bottle. I got mine from Target, a couple of cents. Don't go crazy. I keep telling you, don't break the bank. Don't break the bank. Save them coins. So what you're gonna use is a spray bottle, and you're gonna fill it with 99% alcohol. Right. What you're gonna do is you're gonna spray your bars. So you might not see it, but you're pretty much gonna take your spray bottle, for example, and you're just gonna spritz it, and it's gonna hit the bottom. Because if you notice, you can see these little bubbles. We don't want that, not at all. So the alcohol kills the bubbles, kills it. So what you don't want to do, because I've done this a couple times, is I have overdid the alcohol. I have definitely overdid it. So what happens is it will form like a layer on your bars, and you don't want that either. So what I do is I tend to kind of mix it in, like I stir the bars or whatever after spraying it. And if you can see, you can kind of see the layer forming a little bit, like the soap is hardening. So I just stir it a little bit just so that you don't get that layer, because it doesn't defeat your bars. Like, it's not gonna hurt you or your customers. It's just an appearance thing. I feel like I don't want my bars to look any type of anything. So It's just a personal preference. That's a quick little tip with making soap. You can just spray it to get rid of the bubbles, of course, and then mix it a little bit. All right, so once we're done mixing it, pretty much the next thing to do is let it sit. The minimum hours you could let this sit in the mold, literally on top of the table like this, is for 4 hours. I'll be honest, sometimes I'm in a rush. I definitely am in a rush. I have things to do, or I have orders, something to do, pretty much. So I'll be in a rush sometimes. So I have personally take them out of the mold after 4 hours. It doesn't really hurt the bar, but I would recommend, listen, if you have the time, just let it sit. You could let it sit for 24 hours, or you can let it sit for. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna let them sit overnight, and then we're gonna bring it back. I'm gonna show you guys how I unmold them, what they look like, and all little good stuff. So stay tuned.